After the stoning of Stephen, the church was scattered, and one of the towns that some of them went to was a place called Antioch, and it was here that quite a large church was set up, and it's where Paul and Barnabas set up their base. And Paul spent a year here in Antioch, studying, talking to the other disciples, talking to the other believers, learning and getting ready for the next stage. And so we take up the reading at Acts 13, verse 1. Now in the church at Antioch there were prophets and teachers: Barnabas, Simeon, called Niger, Lucius of Cyrene, Manaen, and Saul. While they were worshipping the Lord and fasting, the Holy Spirit said, "Set apart for me Barnabas and Saul for the work for which I have called them." So after they had fasted and prayed, they placed their hands on them and sent them off. The two of them, sent on their way by the Holy Spirit, went down to Cilicia and sailed from there to Cyprus. This is the beginning of Paul's ministry now. And as I say, he'd spent a year in Antioch, maybe sort of preparing himself, being prepared by God, ready for the next stage, which would be the biggest missionary adventure that had ever happened up until that point. And there's a little phrase I came across that goes with this passage, and it goes like this: because of a prayer meeting, the Spirit speaks. Because the Spirit speaks, the apostles are sent. Because the apostles are sent, churches are planted. Because churches are planted, missionaries were sent. Because missionaries were sent, the world is reached. The church at Antioch had to make a sacrifice. It had to give up two of its leaders, two of its greatest speakers, most powerful and gifted people that they had within the church. They had to say goodbye to them and send them off on their way on a new adventure, where they would, sail the seas, go over mountain passes, go to new places that they'd never been to before. It was a pivotal point for the church, and it was, potentially a quite scary time for the church as well at Antioch. But God blessed that church even after Paul and Barnabas had left, and although they did come back occasionally, the church still grew. And records from that time show that the church was there at least and for another 2 centuries after that time. The church today is in a pivotal time, if you like. After COVID, a lot has changed, and it could well be that the Holy Spirit will speak to us as a church, as a church in Culford, but as a church generally as well, and will ask us to make commitments, to do things that will have a cost, and it is up to us to respond to that calling of the Holy Spirit. If there's things that could be being done in the church as we go back, there will always be things that need to be done. Maybe the Holy Spirit is calling you to something today. Talk to you again.